Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. I'm Jake.
And I'm Lena. We're so excited to have you here today.
If you're listening to this podcast, that means you're serious about improving your English. And guess what? By sticking with us until the end, you're going to expand your vocabulary, improve your listening skills, and feel more confident when speaking English.
That's right. We promise this will be fun, engaging, and totally worth your time. So stay with us and let's get started.
No time to waste. Let's jump right into today's topic, how we discovered our passions.
So Jake, let's start with you. How did you discover your passion?
Oh wow, that's a big question. You know, when I was a kid, I was always curious about how things worked. I used to take apart my toys just to see what was inside. At first, my parents were worried, but then they realized I was just really into technology and problem solving. I remember one time, I completely dismantled my remote-controlled car, and I couldn't put it back together. But instead of getting upset, I was fascinated by all the little parts and how they worked together. That curiosity only grew stronger as I got older.
That's so interesting. So did you know from a young age that you wanted to do something related to technology?
Not exactly. I tried a lot of different things first. I played soccer, learned how to play the guitar, even tried painting. But nothing really excited me like technology did. I remember struggling with painting because I didn't have the patience for it. And soccer was fun, but I never felt truly passionate about it. When I got my first computer, everything changed. I realized I loved coding and creating things, and that's when I knew I had found my passion.
That's amazing. I love how you experimented with different hobbies before finding what truly made you happy. I think a lot of people feel pressured to find their passion early, but sometimes it takes time. It's great that you allowed yourself to explore different interests. And it's even better that your curiosity led you to something you genuinely enjoy. That's what discovering your passion is all about.
Yeah, what about you, Lena? How did you discover your passion?
Well, I was always fascinated by stories. As a child, I would read for hours and even make up my own stories. I remember writing little scripts and making my siblings act them out. But at that time, I didn't think it could be more than just a hobby. I thought everyone loved stories as much as I did. But looking back, I realized that I was obsessed with storytelling in a way that others weren't. I was constantly coming up with new ideas and imagining different worlds.
That sounds so fun. When did you realize storytelling was something you wanted to pursue seriously?
It actually took me a while. In high school, I started writing short stories and even submitted them to competitions. But I was still unsure. It wasn't until college when I took a creative writing class that I realized, wow, this is what I truly love. I had an amazing professor who encouraged me to keep writing, and that changed everything for me. I finally saw that my passion for storytelling could be more than just a hobby. It could be my career. That was the moment I decided to fully embrace writing.
That's so inspiring. So, do you think trying different things helped you find your passion?
Absolutely. I think it's so important to explore different activities and see what really excites you. Sometimes your passion is hiding in something you've never tried before. I always tell people not to be afraid of failing at something new, because every experience teaches you something. Even the things you don't love help you understand what you do love. Passion isn't something that just appears. It's something you actively discover through experience.
Exactly. And it's okay to change your mind along the way. Passion isn't always something you're born with. It's something you discover through experience. And sometimes it evolves over time. What excites you today might lead to something even bigger in the future. The key is to stay open-minded and keep exploring.
So, last time, we talked about how we discovered our passions. But now, we're taking it one step further, how we turn those passions into actual careers. Jake, why don't you start?
Absolutely. As I mentioned in our last episode, I always loved technology and problem solving. But turning that passion into a career wasn't easy. At first, I just treated it as a hobby, playing around with different codes, building small projects, and fixing gadgets for my friends. I remember spending hours on my computer, completely losing track of time while trying to figure out how things worked. It felt so rewarding when I managed to fix something or create a working piece of code.
That makes sense. So when did you realize it could actually become your job?
Well, in college, I started taking computer science classes, and that's when I saw the bigger picture. I realized that people actually made a living by creating software and solving technical problems. But passion alone wasn't enough. I had to work hard, learn new skills, and get experience. I took internships, joined coding communities, and worked on real-world projects before I could confidently say, okay, I can do this as a career. I remember my first internship being really challenging. I doubted myself so many times. But over time, I started to gain confidence and truly understand what it takes to be a professional in this field.
That's such a great point. Passion is a great starting point, but it takes effort, dedication, and skill building to turn it into something sustainable. I think a lot of people underestimate how much work goes into it. It's not just about doing what you love. It's about constantly improving, learning, and finding ways to make it valuable for others.
Exactly. What about you, Lena? How did you transition from just loving storytelling to making it your profession?
For me, it was a little different. I always knew I loved writing, but I never thought of it as something I could make a career out of. I wrote short stories, blog posts, and scripts for fun, but I didn't believe I could actually make money from it. I thought writing was something you did as a hobby, not as a serious profession. But over time, I started to realize that there were people making a living out of storytelling, whether through books, journalism, screenwriting, or content creation. That's when I started to dig deeper and explore my options.
That's such a common fear. So what changed your perspective?
Well, in college, I had a professor who really encouraged me to take my writing seriously. He helped me see that there were so many career paths related to writing: journalism, content creation, screenwriting, and more. So I started freelancing, writing articles online, and eventually landed a job in content marketing. At first, I had to take small gigs that didn't pay much, but they helped me build my portfolio. I also had to deal with a lot of rejection, which was tough, but I kept pushing forward because I knew this was something I truly wanted to do.
That's amazing. So do you think there were any major challenges you faced when trying to turn your passion into a career?
Oh, definitely. One of the biggest challenges was self-doubt. I often asked myself, am I good enough? Or, will people actually pay me for this? But over time, I learned that persistence and continuous improvement were key. I had to keep writing, learning, and putting myself out there. I also had to accept that success wouldn't come overnight. It was a gradual process. Another challenge was dealing with criticism. When you put your work out there, not everyone will like it, and that's okay. I had to learn how to take feedback positively and use it to improve, rather than feeling discouraged.
That's such a valuable lesson. A lot of people think passion alone is enough, but in reality, you need patience, consistency, and the willingness to adapt. You also need to understand that challenges are part of the journey. Everyone faces obstacles, but those who keep pushing through are the ones who succeed.
Exactly. And another important thing, networking. I met so many people who helped me along the way, gave me opportunities, and guided me in the right direction. Passion is powerful, but connections and learning from others make a huge difference. Having a mentor, or even just a supportive community, can make the journey much easier. I remember joining writing groups and attending workshops. It really opened doors for me.
That's a great takeaway. So for anyone listening, if you have a passion, don't be afraid to explore how you can turn it into a career. Start small, gain experience, and keep improving. Most importantly, don't be discouraged by setbacks. They're just part of the process. The key is to stay curious, adaptable, and persistent.
So, Jake, we've talked about discovering our passions and turning them into careers. But today, we're going to talk about something that's just as important: dealing with doubts and setbacks along the way. No matter how much we love what we do, there will always be moments of uncertainty. Sometimes it's external factors, like lack of support, and sometimes it's just our own inner critic telling us we're not good enough.
Exactly. No journey is ever smooth, and everyone faces moments of uncertainty and failure. I know I definitely had my fair share of doubts when I was starting out. There were times when I wondered if I was even good enough to pursue my passion professionally. I remember comparing myself to others who were already successful and feeling like I was way behind. It took me a long time to realize that everyone has their own pace and journey.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. I remember struggling with imposter syndrome when I first started writing professionally. I would constantly compare myself to others and feel like I wasn't talented enough. It's a terrible feeling, but I've learned that almost everyone experiences it at some point. It's funny because even some of the most successful people admit to having the same feelings of doubt. I guess it's just part of being human.
Absolutely. And I think the key to overcoming those feelings is realizing that doubt doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're growing. I had to remind myself that no one starts out as an expert. Every successful person out there once doubted themselves too. I started reading about the struggles of people I admired, and that helped me see that setbacks and doubts are normal. It gave me the motivation to keep going, even when things felt tough.
That's such an important mindset to have. But let's be honest. It's not always easy to stay motivated when things don't go as planned. So what helped you push through the tough times? Was there a specific moment when you almost gave up? I know for me, there were times when I seriously questioned whether I was on the right path, and I had to dig deep to find the motivation to keep going.
For me, it was about setting small, achievable goals. When I focused too much on the big picture, I felt overwhelmed. But breaking things down into smaller steps made everything feel more manageable. Instead of thinking, I have to become a top expert, I started telling myself, let me just get a little better every day. Also, surrounding myself with supportive people helped a lot. Talking to friends, mentors, or even listening to success stories kept me going. I would remind myself of the progress I had already made, even if it felt small.
That's a great strategy. I also found that reminding myself why I started in the first place helped me stay motivated. Whenever I faced setbacks, I would take a step back and reconnect with my original passion. It's so easy to get caught up in stress and forget why you love what you do in the first place. One thing that helped me was keeping a journal of small wins. Looking back at what I had already accomplished gave me a confidence boost. I also practiced positive affirmations to counter negative self-talk.
So true. And I think another important thing is to accept failure as part of the process. Instead of seeing it as a sign to give up, I started viewing failures as learning experiences. Every setback taught me something valuable, and over time I got better at handling them. I used to think failing meant I wasn't good enough, but now I see it as just another step in the journey. I started embracing mistakes instead of fearing them, and that changed everything for me.
That's a great point. I've also learned that resilience is key. Instead of letting failures define me, I started asking myself, what can I learn from this? And once I shifted my mindset, setbacks didn't feel as devastating anymore. It's like building a muscle. The more you push through tough situations, the stronger you become. Looking back, some of my biggest challenges actually led to the biggest breakthroughs in my career. It's funny how struggles often lead to growth.
That's the right approach. So for anyone listening who might be going through a tough time, just remember, doubt and setbacks are completely normal. What really matters is how you respond to them. Keep learning, keep improving, and don't be too hard on yourself. No one has it all figured out, and that's okay. Progress is what matters, not perfection.
Exactly. And if you ever feel stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help or take a short break. Sometimes, stepping back and giving yourself time to reset can make a huge difference. And remember, setbacks don't define you. Your persistence and determination do. So, what about you, guys? How do you plan to discover your passion? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
And don't forget, in the description below, you'll find a playlist with more episodes like this one. So go check them out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fun and useful conversation.
Thanks for your support, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now.
See you soon.